Alex, known for having quite good starts as the 5 red lights are on. The lights go out. We wait for the timing desync. You can see the cars revving their engines, and they're off. So it looks like a pretty good start for the majority of the grid. Alex Bitter getting ahead.
Oh, and there is a huge crash. That's kind of off wide. Oh, no, and that is a VSC deployment right off of the race start here. And that is a driver out already, and Zamis has been caught up in this. And he came together with the fin of Kana. Kana looks like he got absolutely taken out there as his entire rear swung around. And now there is a VSC, and our founder, Mr. Zamis, has retired here right at the start of this 100% Grand Prix. And I am not entirely sure what happened there. But it is back to green flag racing, as it is Luptra very tight to the rear of that Ferrari. Mikhail Freeware having a view. And things have tightened up on this grid already, as the safety car, or the VSC, has gone offline. And people are going to be looking for opportunities all over this grid. But, of course, the big talk is we have Zamis out of this race already. It's almost as if it was Vettel in Austria round 2, and I am not happy about that. Of course, I don't think anybody watching this stream is happy about that quick retirement, but of course, it's going to be a major fight through this long race. It's going to be Moen and Fraser exchanging positions now. Fraser into the rear of Jones there. Moen on the inside of Fraser, getting by as Fraser struggling to get ahead of that Haas. It's a fight for 12th position, and there's going to be an exchange all over the place. That's Freeware. And the timing tower is playing games with me as I'm looking to get as many overtakes for you as I can. But of course, Gadwin and Liam fighting. So much action here, and just trying to get online with all of it. Let's go and look at Seb, who's behind Gadwin here into turn 4. Fraser back on Moen into turn 4 as well.
Yeah, Seb just not able to find the gap that he needs to get past the Red Bull. But Fraser has had an amazing start, all the way from 20th to 10th within the first lap and a bit. A lap and a third, I should say. So he is absolutely flying through this grid. Of course, making, using that accident to good effect to slingshot all the way up the grid order.
Gadwin Mikhail, he's had a slip out from his rear in that Red Bull, and Seb the champ is looking very closely at that Red Bull for 7th position right now. Are we going to see a move down into turn 1? It is very possible. They are within a second of one another right now, as are a great deal of these racers. Luptra looking at Alex Bido, Mikhail into turn 1. Alex covers off the inside. Luptra jumps onto that outside line. Good line through turn 1 to recover. Alex, though, looking very strong in the Scarlet Red Ferrari out in front right now, and it is a battle that I'm sure everybody wants to see. This is Ferrari versus Mercedes in Brazil.
Yeah, Luptra still doing very, very well to stay within that DRS range. Those top two have managed to just break out of DRS range of Freeware behind in the AlphaTauri, who got a pretty decent start. Yoda another second and a bit behind them, and BTFU in 5th place for the Renault squad, just 2 seconds behind them.
Domi there, he's now made it ahead of the Williams of Moen. He is into 11th position, as Seb is still looking at Gadwin for that 7th position, and it looks like he's locked onto him like a heat-seeking missile right now, because he has been sticking so closely with the Finnish driver. The Canadian looking for 7th. He wants to get near his other fellow countryman. That's Liam in 6th position, less than 2 seconds away from BTFU, who is in a very impressive 5th position right now, Mikhail.
Yeah, but my eyes are firmly glued to this battle for the lead right now. Luptra overtake and DRS. Alex giving him the squeeze, but it's not enough. Luptra diving it up the inside into turn 1, and he will get the move done through the center S, but Alex Bido in that Ferrari using that overtake mode has the DRS now available as well, and he's going to just switch back, say thank you very much for that DRS, as they're still side by side heading into turn 4. Alex Bido leaves the space, goes a little bit wide to try and avoid colliding with the Mercedes, but the Ferrari still out ahead. They might be side by side going up into turn 6 and 7, but the Ferrari has held on. But all this fighting has now brought Freeware back within that 1 second gap that he needs to really try and stay with them. And there's an incident on the main straight that's NX throw into the wall, so he's going to be going into the pits to change that front wing.
Luptra, very impressive moves there, but of course Bido, not an easy driver to overtake. He's quite quick in that red car right now. Luptra can be quite crafty as well, though, as he looks to stick with the Scarlet Red car. Alpha Tauri in third position right now with Freeware, less than a second behind, is going to be rubbing his hands together. But you see Lutra with this DRS and big carry. Oh man, that is the Mercedes into the rear of that Ferrari. So now he has lost a major opportunity to overtake. Let's take a look at that front end plate. No damage from the Mercedes. Fortunate for him, and that's going to still give Freeware that opportunity to stick with them quite well here. And now that is finally the Canadian Seb the Champ getting ahead of the Finnish driver into turn 1 and 2. Into 7th, the Racing Point goes, Mikhail, as there is just so much battling through this grid, and it's exactly what we wanted to see. Of course, that fight for the lead.
I mean, 11th Striff trying to look to find a way past Crampy. Crampy misses the apex at turn 4 slightly. There's a little bit of ghosting shenanigans going on as well. It is quite odd, but Domi up the inside into turn 6. He will get that move done for that final points place. Well done from the Renault driver. But I'm sure Crampy is not done yet after that move.
Crampy showed great speed in Vietnam this past week for round 3 of MRL. We'll see if he's able to translate that here over to the Brazilian circuit. Of course, now Emulator seems to have had an issue and a disconnect. We'll hopefully able to get him back into the mix here, as he is currently running in 13th. Quite a solid position from the Haas, considering where he began this campaign. As we look to Lutra,
these top two still scrapping it out. But what's interesting is that the top two are both completely out of their battery, basically, and Freeway behind them almost has 90%. So these
Seb
two
now
fighting.
Seb, it's Canadian versus Canadian here, and Liam's driving the Williams as well as Seb in this Racing Point, and it's what you love to see. Two Canadians driving Canadian cars, although Seb in Perez's car for the moment. You see them coming up through turn 6 right now. Seb within a second of that Williams, as Liam and the 7th position Racing Point look to catch up with BTFU in 5th. Gadwin starting to drop off a little bit, or is he? He can be quite feisty in that Red Bull. We'll see if he's able to make something happen back into turn 1, perhaps get a switchback.
Seb loses the rear out of the exit of turn 10. Gadwin now within 3/10 of the Racing Point. But they will all have DRS, as they are just behind this train being led by BTFU, with the back marker of NX Throw in the mix in that gaggle of cars as well. But at the front, these guys, these two, the Mercedes and the Ferrari of Lutra and Alex Bitto respectively, just not giving an inch. But they have to be worried. Surely they have to be worried of this.
There's a car off, and I think that's NX Throw off outside of turn 1, Mikhail. It is. There's a VSC deployment. He has lost that entire front wing on that Alfa Romeo as he comes out of that Senna S down into turn 4. Very bad for him indeed. So VSC deployed here. Everybody has to slow down, and this is going to be very interesting to see who is able to maintain their delta pace the best, because if you're able to keep that tight margin on the delta, you're able to stick with cars and get yourself a little bit further up in track position during these VSC deployments, and it is somewhat skillful. Keep that delta quite low here, and of course VSC, if you speed during the VSC, you're going to receive a very, very nasty penalty. We'll see if anybody gets caught out by that.
It looks like we're not quite going just yet. The driver's trying to time their restart as perfectly as they can, try not to lose any time. Safety, this VSC has been out for quite a while now, but DRS has now been re-enabled as we are green flag racing. Once again, there's a collision. That's Domi at the final proper corner at the start of sector 3. Looks like he's had a little bit of an off. But this fight at the front, Lutra had a little look up the inside of Alex into turn 4, but isn't quite able to make that move stick. And Freeware, through that VSC, is now only 4/10 behind Lutra. So we now have a 3-way battle for the lead of this race, and it's only lap 8 of 71, ladies and gentlemen.
Meanwhile, Domi getting ahead of Crampy into turn 1. Fraser right now is hunting in the midfield, as we saw him start at the back of this grid in 20th position. The Alfa Romeo is flying here through the field, currently in 9th position. Gadwin, next target.
Yeah, those soft tires
Jones.
giving
Sorry there, Mikhail. Jones on Adam into turn 1. Of course, carry on with what you were saying.
Yeah, I'm just saying that those soft compound tires still have quite a bit of life left in them. Gadwin, especially after that VSC, might have a little bit of trouble trying to get enough heat into those mediums, but you can just see the amount of speed on that Alfa Romeo. Overtake mode, DRS, rich mix, has that overspeed. They're side by side heading into turn 1. Fraser on that outside. As there's a yellow flag in sector 2, that's the other Alfa Romeo of NX throw off. And that has just completely thrown off all the momentum that Fraser had. But did he get the move done before the VSC?
I believe he did.
It might look like he had. So that is very, very fortunate. As Crampy will be heading into the pits, getting off those 8-lap-old soft compound tires. See what kind of compound he goes on to.
Curious question here is if Alex Bitto dives into the pit lane now, Mikhail.
It depends on how long this virtual safety car lasts for. The last one lasted for quite a while. I still think it's a bit too early. Those soft compound tires probably have at least a little bit of life left in them. I'd certainly be concerned if they were struggling only after 8 laps of running.
Now, if you're just tuning in with us here, this is a 100% distance race, something that we do for every Formula One race weekend. Of course, we call it the MRL Endurance Series, and we are here for round 5 as we're back to green flag racing. Alex Bitto.
I got a drive-through penalty. Lutra up the inside again of the Ferrari. They're side by side through the center. It's a little bit of contact. Alex Bitto has to cut the corner to avoid colliding with the Mercedes, but Freeware behind them is going to have an amazing run. Alex Bitto aggressively weaving to the left, trying to break that slipstream as NX Throw pulls into the pits and retires. They're side by side. Lutra round the outside, goes a little bit wide. Alex Bitto going to have that inside line through turn 5. They're side by side going up the hill into sector 2. This is absolutely great racing, but Alex Bitto has to yield. He might try for the switchback heading into turn 7. He does. He dives up the inside. And that is an amazing recovery after being overtaken.
In sector 2 there, they've just passed a major crashed car, and that is going to be Adam dropping down the grid now. Nothing to speak of, and it looks like there's an issue just outside of turn 1. I may have been wrong, as it could have been a driver retiring the pits, NX Throw, if I'm not mistaken. But of course, this battle up front, Mikhail, is absolutely intensity. It's just so tight between these three up in the front right now, and Yoda has now joined the mix, and that's bad news for everybody involved, as Lutra once again here going to be having a look at the Ferrari. Doesn't get anything done, but of course turn 4 is an entirely different story, and that's where he's been pulling the trigger so far.
There's also a battle going on for 6th place at the moment. It's almost 3 wide going into turn 1. See if Fraser having a massively, a great view of this.
And Fraser, he tried to sneak through and thread the needle, and there's been a huge issue there. I think that was Liam now who lost out because of that. He got tapped. Now Fraser getting ahead of Gadwin.
So yellow flag in sector 2. That's one of the Haas's off. I think that's Jones trying to get that car going in at turn 11. Yeah, this fight for 6th and this fight for 1st are just absolutely incredible at the moment.
There's just amazing battles happening all over the circuit right now, Mikhail. And another one that we're going to jump back on with is going to be Lutra versus Alex Bitto. They're both on, pretty well, got entire top 10 on these 10-lap-old softs now. And of course, as it's 100%, you wouldn't see them pit when you normally would in a 50% race that we're accustomed to. But Lutra right now, not lapping as hard as he has been. He's currently 5 tenths up on his PB. Of course, the tire is going to be playing a role in that as they get more wear into them. The DRS once again. Is he going to make a move into turn 4? Alex Bitto, a little bit of a weave there into the braking zone.
Yeah, he thought he had to go defensive into turn 4 to stop that Mercedes from going from a late lunge, but then he realized that he wasn't quite close enough to make that move. But I'm still really concerned how both of these drivers are on less than 20% battery at the moment, and Freeway behind them has a full, basically a full 100%. So whenever Freeway wants, he can just slam that overtake and probably get both of these guys into turn 1.
It is very possible. One thing you got to keep in mind, as we have a yellow flag popping up again now, as I think that is the Haas of Jones, and Domi very close to mowing in this fight for P9 right now. Less than half a second is the gap. Of course, Bido, behind that back marker, is going to have DRS down into turn 1, making Lutra's job very difficult.
Yeah, not able to make a dive yet, but also just behind them in the battle for 5th. Looks like Fraser has that overtake DRS mode as well. He's going to look up the inside of BTFU heading into turn 1. And it looks like he'll get that move done for the time being. Can BTFU try the switchback and use that slingshot and the DRS to try and get past the Alfa Romeo? He's gaining, but I don't think it's close enough. And no, CFR Fraser just parking that car right in the middle of the road, saying, nope, this is my position now. You can have P6.
Very nicely done from him. Of course, just want to give a quick shout out to the chat. Thank you, Mr. Henners, for the 100 bits. Greatly appreciate the support, sir. Of course, Henners commentating with me in MRL Season 2, and he is also a Tier 1 racer. Catch him on Thursdays in the Haas for Tier 1 action. Of course, Lutra has been the driver to watch, as he has been in the intensity for the entirety of this race, with this Ferrari ahead of him and Freeware pressuring him from behind. So he has been in this sandwich where nobody has the opportunity to make a mistake here.
And also Gadwin now catching up to the back of BTV. I'm just keeping one eye on that, see if he's going to be able to make the overtake. He's not using that overtake mode, as I'm now looking for just to stay behind the Renault and try and regain some of that energy that he used earlier in the race.
Taking a look at the stops now, Mikhail. Drivers 1 through 11 on the grid. No stops from them now. It's a different story from 12th down to 18th. Of course, a couple drivers having to stop twice. The rest of them only the once so far. Tire strategy is definitely going to play a role here, as they are all on harder compound tires, with the exception of course, Nigel is on that soft compound set. Emulator, no pit stop from him, as Seb seems to have overtaken him into 11th position. Tires going to be playing a role for him in that encounter. But this battle between BTFU and Gadwin still unfolding. Got a little spike of a yellow
Alex
flag
had a bit of a moment. Alex got a little bit of wheel spin coming out of the final proper corner. So is that going to be enough? Looks like he's actually pulled a bit of a gap to Lutra over this past lap. But like I said before, like a few laps ago, these two at the front, very, very low on battery. And I don't know if Freeware's aware of that. Freeware just using a little bit of overtake here and there to just try and keep the pressure up on these front two. Gadwin not quite close enough to make the move into turn 1 on the Renault down in P6 and P7.
Okay, I can't believe how much battling we've had. We're only 15 laps into this campaign. 71-lap race. And we have had 3 VSCs. We've had 3 VSCs and no physical safety cars as of yet. Of course, we're on reduced damage. Physical safety cars pretty much only come out when there's a major incident involving 1 or more cars and kind of terminal damage setting that we found. Of course, time will tell. There's a long duration left here. Now, if you are new to this racing action, we do this every Thursday at 9 p.m. and 11 p.m. BST respectively for tiers 2 and 1, and that's 3:15 p.m. CDT and 5:15 the other time zones. Of course, Tuesdays pretty soon we're going to be having our MRL grid, and the time will be released for that soon. And of course, every Saturday we have the racing action here following the F1 race weekends. We did Britain last week. Before that it was Hungary, and we started this off in F1 2019 with Austria. And then we did the following week another Austrian Grand Prix in the new driving model, and that was quite unique to see. But of course today, as we don't want to do 2 Grand Prix back to back, we have the variety option. We decided for the 70th anniversary, Mikhail, Brazil would be just as great for those of the fans that want to see it. Such a deciding circuit over the history of our lovely Formula 1 sport that we all love and enjoy here. It's Gadwin, still within half a second of BTFU.
Yeah, I'm just keeping an eye on this top 4 at the moment, as it looks like Atom has spun again at the exit of turn 9. So his day has just gone from bad to worse. But yeah, this gap between the top 4 just all seems to just lie within that 4/10 range. But Lutra has a little bit of a run on Alex Bitter. Is he going to make a dive for the inside? He has a look. Not quite close enough to try and make that move. But he's trying to get the best possible run he can through the center S. He's using all that overtake that he has left at his disposal. DRS opens the slipstream. Alex Bitter trying to go defensive. Lutra up the inside. Alex goes a little bit off the track.
Oh, the exit from the Mercedes.
Again.
What a beautiful racing. Of course,
isn't quite able to make the move yet.
Traction going to play a big role for that move into turn 1. You need to have a lot of confidence on your tires going through that turn if you want to make a lunge. And of course, he just waited patiently. He had another attempt, and it was very close coming out of turn 4 there between these two. We saw Lutra on that inside have a fantastic amount of grip on the exit, but it was just so much speed out from that Ferrari that he was able to keep it out in first position here. And drivers are starting to pit now. Emulator has come in off of those softs, as has Adam in 18th. And he is...
lap 17. Those softs are going to be starting to feeling it. But Lutra has that overspeed once again. Alex Bitto defending earlier this time, but not enough. He opens the door for Lutra to try to dive down the inside again. He gets ahead for the time being, but Alex Bitto with the switchback, is he going to be able to retake that position once again? We'll find in a couple moments' time. That red light flashing from the Mercedes, signaling that he's low on battery. Lutra gives him the squeeze, forcing it to the outside line. Alex Bitto trying to hold it around the outside. They're wheel-to-wheel again, heading up the hill into Sector 2. This is absolutely amazing. Alex Bitto on the inside. Lutra trying to hold it there. Alex has to take the grass. He'll have the inside for turn 8 into turn 9, and the Ferrari will get out ahead of the Mercedes again.
Ladies and gentlemen, all I have to say is what wonderful battling we are having here. And as a little bit of a tagline to go with that, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Misfits Racing League. These two drivers in first and second right now. They're under threat while doing this battling. Freeware and Yoda catching up. And of course, Fraser 8 seconds behind. They are in a league of their own at the moment in this front of the grid. Lutra, once again, with so much carry of speed. Is he going to have another look into turn 1? Does he have the confidence? Late on the braking, Alex Bitto, a little earlier than Lutra there. Lutra easing off the brakes, trying to get a lunge through. They are still fighting, and this time around, Mikkel, Freeware might be close enough to be impactful in this fight. Lutra sticking behind that Ferrari. Freeware, he's watching them go wheel-to-wheel down through turn 4. Alex Bitto on the inside, coming out with a very, very tight exit for that Mercedes, and he gets out in front of the Mercedes again. This time around, Alex Bitto's having none of it. The Spaniard squeezing Lutra in that Mercedes. Freeware having a fantastic look at this coming up through Sector 2. And Yoda right behind him. Of course, these drivers all doing very well to keep their distance from what's going on right now, because wheel-to-wheel battling like this, if you're too close, especially in Freeware's position, it could be very costly for you as well. Yoda maintaining, just as much of a gap behind.
Yeah, they can't forget about those two behind them. I've been saying it for the past 5 or so laps now, but these two fighting up the front, they cannot forget about the AlphaTauri and the other Mercedes of Freeware and Yoda behind them, because at any moment they could pounce, turn up that battery, and just go for it. But Alex defending hard once again into turn 1. Seems to be quite lenient on the track limits at turn 2. But anything to keep this wonderful racing going. Lutra a little bit further back than he was on the previous occasion. Isn't quite close enough to try and make the dive into turn 4. So for the first time in the 3 laps, these two are not side by side heading towards turn 6.
That's right, McCowan. One thing to note for all of you tuning in, Lutra has been following with Bitto for this entire race. These two have been fighting. This has been a half a second battle for the lead this entire race, and we have Freeware, who has been along for this journey. Yoda has now caught up as well as a result of that previous VSC. And this top 4 is looking so quick, and the DRS is just helping all of them here.
Meanwhile, down in 7th and 8th, Liam had a little bit of a look on Domi into turn 7. But that's another gap to keep your eye on, as well as Kana, only 5/10 behind Nigel, down in 14th. But this fight at the front as Lutra blinks. Lutra going for that undercut, but he gets 5 seconds for speeding in the pit lane. No!
Lutra blinked, and then you have Freeware here in second position, defending from Yoda, and Yoda sliding out there in the Senna S. Very careful to keep that car back under control, and he gets it back under control. Of course, he's going to be losing some time to Alex Bido and Freeware ahead. And now Alex, without Lutra pressuring him, is he going to be able to pull away a little bit from Freeware here? Freeware, he's still within that 1 second margin, so he'll have DRS coming down through Sector 3. But of course, it's the Sector 2 section where everything kind of gets equalized. There isn't any serious overtaking opportunities here. And now you see Liam, the Canadian driver, jumping into the pit lane, getting onto some medium compound tires. BTFU onto the medium compound tires as well. Gadwin, Lutra, Gadwin has yet to pit, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, that is correct. So he is on the tires he started on in this race. But of course, Alex Bido pulling away from Freeware.
Yeah, I'm just keeping an eye on this battle for 13th at the moment. Kana with the DRS, not using that overtake, but he's very, very close to the back of the other Ferrari of Nigel in 13th. Isn't quite able to make the move just yet. Of course, we've got to give some of the other drivers some screen time, but he has the overtaking mode now into turn 4. Just look at the speed of that McLaren up the inside. And that was a fairly convincing move, just the sheer amount of overspeed.
The word you always say, Mikau, easy as you like.
It's not quite done yet. Nigel having a little bit of a look through the exit of 4 into 5. But he does have to stay behind that McLaren at least for Sector 2.
Yeah, those softs hurting now. You see Wavy behind him in 15th. He is on the hard compound tires, and he's doing a good job of getting behind the rear of this Ferrari. But Kana doing solid there in 13th. And we have just so many fast drivers here on this grid. A lot of these, keep in mind, the qualifying for this race from 1st to 12th was less than a second between these drivers. Of course, not like Tier 1 MRL where we saw Bahrain, 1st to 18th, less than 9/10. Unbelievable stuff there.
Yeah, I don't think we'll ever be forgetting that one, at least for a long time coming. But crucially, Freeware has gotten out of DRS and he's into the pits now as well. So of our top 4, Freeware is the second to blink. I'm curious to see how Lutra has done with his 2-lap undercut. He's going to get DRS off Gadwin coming down the main straight. It's going to be quite convincing for the Mercedes to get out ahead of this AlphaTauri, I feel, as he sets the fastest lap of the race so far with a 1 minute 10.4. But Alex the Yoda still sticking out here on those old softs.
Yeah, now one thing I gotta say.
Red Bull off.
Oh,
Red Bull off. That looks like to be Wavy, I think, and it is Wavy at turn 8, I believe. Not too sure how that one happened. Oh, but Emulator's gone off as well at the exit of 9. So these guys at the bottom of the grid really struggling to keep the car on the road at this point in time.
Things can get so hot. Sector 2 here. You're pushing that car too hard. You come up into Sector 2, everything heats up a little bit quicker than you might imagine it does, and then with some of the tight turns coming through that section, it can be very easy to lose the rear or oversteer your car here. But of course, Gadwin now, he has dropped away from Lutra. Lutra in third position on these mediums. How is it going to go for him with the undercut? Yoda has come into the pits now in the Mercedes, and Alex Bido is staying out here, and he is going to be completing 24 laps on these softs. But he's going on the hards?
Yeah, Yoda's got put on a set of hard tires, so he might actually be looking to go to the end of this race, trying to pull off that one stop. But it looks like the undercut has worked for Lutra and for Freeware. They're both getting a second or 2 seconds up on their rivals, but there's a yellow flag in Sector 1.
And who's
that's
that?
an Alfa Romeo again. I think that might...
That's Fraser.
That's Fraser. Fraser has had an off through the center as he's now dropping down to 9th place.
No damage though, so it looks as though he's spun it, corrected himself, gotten things back going on circuit. He's dropped a couple positions, but no damage to have to change that wing, so that's very fortunate for him. Hopefully his tires didn't take too much wear there. We're a second behind Gadwin at the moment. Going to be within the Red Bull's DRS in a very short moment as the 2 Honda powered drivers are about to do battle. Is Gadwin going to come in here? He has gone 24 laps on his mediums, although the tire graphic is not giving us the real information at the moment. We do know he did start this race on the rubber he's currently driving with. You can see him struggling out of that Senna S here. Rear, so much speed behind the fin.
There's so much more grip in the AlphaTauri for the German. Overtake, DRS, easy as you like. Gets it done even before the braking zone. That was a no contest for the AlphaTauri. So he's now up into third. Yoda, 2.5 seconds behind them. Of course, on those hard compound tires. So he is going to the end of this race, I feel. I don't think he'll be putting on a set of softs at the end. If he can make it to the end on those hards, he will be making it to the end on those hards.
Yeah, Moen into the pit lane now. That promotes his teammate Liam into 10th position. Where's Moen going to come out here? Is Crampy going to get him? It's going to be tight as Crampy's coming through here.
Now, Alex has stayed out yet again as he starts lap 26 of the 71 lap campaign. So he's really getting the most out of those soft compound tires. Just trying to push as much as he can because he knows
Do you remember
that
the pole time? Sorry to interrupt you, but the pole time for Alex, what was it?
I'm pretty sure it was a 1 minute 6.6 if my memory serves me correct. I could be wrong though.
It was
So, yeah,
7
often
thousandths. It's 7 thousandths between the top two drivers here in this race. That's Alex Bitto and Lutra that started on the front row. And 106. Middle 106s was the pole time. We can't remember exactly, of course, responding to the question in the chat. And sorry to interrupt you there, Mikhail.
Oh, that's okay. It was very, very tight between those two, which is always great to see. Gadwin now is still staying within the DRS range of freeway, only now just sort of breaking out of it. Don't know if he made some kind of mistake, but the gap seemed to have extended just a little bit. And Alex is staying at yet another lap. So could he be trying something that like a soft medium? Is that what we're trying to see from the Ferrari? He's gone 26 laps now on those softs. And I'm just going to have a quick look at his lap times. They don't seem to be falling away too much. In fact, he's lapping around what he was doing around 10 laps ago.
Very consistent is the Spaniard here in Brazil, and 27 laps is going to be the amount he's driven on them when he does end up coming in. If he does come in at the end of this lap, the strategy from him, very, very interesting. As that is such a long duration on these softs. Of course, it is a 100% distance race. Do you really think he could go for that soft medium? It's gonna be tough.
It's a stretch. I'm gonna no doubt it's gonna be a stretch. But if he's made it to lap 28 when he crosses the line on those softs, he certainly has the tire management skills to pull it off. Whether it's faster than going biting the bullet now and going onto a set of hards, we are yet to see. But no, he's staying out yet again. Is the Ferrari. And every lap he stays out, that gap between him and Lutra just starts to trickle down further and further.
Anna in the McLaren right now. Looking for an overtake on Crampy. Crampy and him having a little bit of contact. Anna into 12th position. Looks like he's gotten the move done for now. Crampy, hard to follow along with onboard at the very least, given that fortunate rev glitch. But that is a very nice overtake from Kana into turn 4.
Inulator picking up a 5-second time penalty for speeding into the pit lane as he pulls in to retire the car. Very, very unfortunate for the Haas driver.
Inulator, very, very good racer, of course. New to the kind of league environment that we're seeing here right now on circuit. It's definitely an adjustment, but he was showing great pace throughout that race. He was in the midfield for some time. And of course, just wanted to get his toes wet. Dip his feet in, see how things went. Of course, now Domi has pit, Liam into 9th result, and is Moen.
Now Domi, it's an interesting case here because Domi also pitted off those 27 lap old softs, and he's gone to a set of mediums. Now, what that tells me is that he thinks the mediums can make it to the end of the race because there's no reason why you'd push the softs that long if you were going to go for a 2-stop. There's absolutely no reason for it, in my personal opinion and experience. So that could be a sign.
Could this have just been a super elaborate strategy, Mikhail, from the Scuderia to unlap their driver, as Nigel now is approaching the rear of his teammate to unlap himself from this race? There he is a lap down, of course. Nigel down through the 18th. all of those racers currently lapped by our race leader. Could be.
So it could be. Hopefully, it goes better than the real life Scuderia last year. As much as it pains me to bring it up for you, Strifian.
Yeah, of course, the Scuderia not having the outing they would have liked to have here at the iconic Interlagos,
Alex
Sao
stays
Paulo
out
circuit.
again. He's now gone 29 laps on those softs. There's a yellow flag in sector 3. That's one of the Red Bulls. I think that's Wavy. He's had a bit of an off at the final corner.
As in
Has one
Kana
of the
started to interrupt on the inside down into turn 4, getting a very easy overtake done on Moen. Moen now in the Williams charging, looking for a switchback. Is he going to be able to defend and do anything about the McLaren robbing him into turn 4? I do not know. It does not look like it right now, but it's a very nice move from Kana. Now into 11th position for the McLaren.
Yeah, Moen just trying to do his best to stick with McLaren as best as he can. But my eyes are solely fixed on these two Ferraris. And just the sheer insanity I'm witnessing. 30 laps on softs. If he's able to pull that out, then no wonder, like, Domi pit in for the mediums. They'll definitely make it to the end of the race if he's got that much, tire management and tire saving skill underneath that crash helmet. And he's pitting. He finally comes into the pits.
That unleashes Nigel. Now, no longer lapped. However, is Wavy going to be lapped? Is he going to be able to pass ahead of that Ferrari as he is finally coming to the pit lane here? As where is he going to come out? Dutra has now made it ahead of the Ferrari. Where is Freeware going to come out? He's going to pass ahead of Alex Bitto as well, but of course Alex is onto those medium compound tires, Mikal, which is going to make things quite. He's going to go to the end, of course, but it's going to make things quite problematic for these racers that have undercut him by such a large margin. You see Dutra, 9 laps on those mediums. Freeware 7 laps on his. Now Alex coming out here on lap 31 on fresh tires, and Gadwin hasn't even pit yet. But he is currently running in 4th, and he's doing well in that Red Bull to stay there. Of course, Yoda went on the hard compound tires, so it's going to be very interesting to see what kind of pace Yoda has in those hards versus Alex Bitto near the end of the race. As Yoda is currently the only racer on hards until the end, I do.
Yeah, Wavy pitting fairly early for his set of hard compound tires that he's on at the moment. But Alex Bitto has a lot of grip in those fresh mediums. He's already clawed back the 5/10 he needs to get within DRS range of the AlphaTauri in front of him. Freeware used to seeing that Ferrari in front of him. Now he's seeing him in the rear, a whole pit stop ahead of him, theoretically.
Going to be really tough for these drivers on those older mediums to stay competitive with Alex on these fresh rubber tires, man. These super clean cut mediums to the end here. We'll have to see how it plays out. The long haul.
Meanwhile, BTFU and Fraser having a little bit of a scrap. Fraser has that DRS and overtake. BTFU also using his overtake. They're side by side heading into turn 4. Fraser has inside line, a little bit of a lock up there on the front left, but he will get that move done as he did set the fastest lap of the race on that previous lap. But BTFU having a better exit through turn 5, but isn't quite able to stay with the Alfa Romeo. So BTFU now down to 7th place. Oh, down the inside goes Liam. There's a tiny bit of wheel banging, but he makes it down the inside at turn 7. Wow. That. He has that overtaker mode on as well. Seb defends to the inside into heading towards the center S. But Domi trying to get the switchback. He has the grip he needs, but does he have the battery and the overspeed? He has the DRS now, that battery down to 5%. Seb committing to the outside, but the Renault just can't get close enough. But he has the run. Oh, Seb makes a mistake heading through turn 5. Domi has to take avoiding action, and Domi down the inside of Seb into turn 6 and 7 as well. Wow. He certainly pulled the gap after breaking the DRS with the undercut. So Freeway staying out a couple too long laps. But Alex Bitto looking around the outside. And that was a pretty convincing move, if I do say so myself. Absolutely not. We're only halfway through this race, Striff. Those softs, it was quite a feat for Alex Bitto to make them last 30 laps. But to make them last another 36 laps, it's going to be quite the task. But another driver that's slowly catching up is Nigel. He's now 8 tenths behind Crampy in the racing point in front of him. Within that DRS range, as Alex sets the first sub 1 minute 10 lap of this race with a 1 minute 9.9, showing amazing pace in the other Ferrari. Yeah, Nigel slowly whittling down that gap between himself and that racing point, so that could be something to keep an eye on that timing tower. That's currently the only gap within the second.
And I've just realized, thank you to a viewer in the chat, Mr. Turbo Focus, that unfortunately for my Streamlabs, an issue that has been happening quite recently, my microphone was muted. So I am not entirely sure how long I have been muted on the stream. Hopefully not too long, of course, as did have a fair share of commentation in some of those moves, but of course it was the Battle of Canada. Hopefully people heard that. But Nigel, as you said, doing very well here, hunting down positions. Crampy going to be looking over his shoulder for some time.
Another one who's going to be keeping a close eye on that interval time is Lutra, as Kana on those fresh softs sets a 1 minute 9.2 as the current fastest lap, and Freeware is into the pits once again.
So Freeware's into the pits. He's getting off of the mediums now. What's he going to be getting on here? He's going to be getting on a first set of mediums, and he's getting a wing change, Mikhail. That's going to cost him some time. Not happy is German, as Alex Bitto now 4.8 seconds off of Lutra. The time is coming down, but both of these drivers, as we saw, so consistent through each of their first stints. We'll see if once they do end up, and I do believe they will come together, as the gap is slowly coming down between, what kind of fighting we're going to see from the Ferrari and Mercedes.
If only we had that striking distance graphics, Driffium. If only.
If only. Don't
Yeah,
don't get me going.
At this current rate, I think we're going to be seeing at least another 10 laps or so. Maybe between 8 and 10 laps before Alex is in with a realistic shot of going for that overtake. But I don't know if Lucha will be pitting before then, because considering when Freeware pit and you know how I can't believe Gadwin's still out on those mediums he started the race on. Unbelievable. But yeah, hopefully we're going to still see some on-track battles between our top two, because in that first stint it was quite breathtaking.
Oh, it definitely was. The battling that we saw coming out of those two, just jaw-dropping, how tight things were in the top four. Of course, it was Alex Bitto leading, Lutra in second, going back and forth, and you had Freeper and Yoda tagging along for the ride. And they had the best seats in the house, to be fair. And I'm sure
here we
it
go
was
now.
so intense.
I'm seeing a 4/10 gap on the timing tower. It's the Ferrari of Nigel, who's been slowly catching this racing point, but he gets on the inside curb. That's going to compromise his run. Oh no.
Have the DRS.
I'm sorry, Nigel.
I'm
Still got the DRS. I'm sorry, Nigel, but I've thrown the commentator's curse upon you. Just touching that inside curb. If you get the power down there, you're just going to completely lose all the stability. But he has pace in that Ferrari. Of course, he's doing fairly well in our Tier 2 championship so far. I believe he's in the top 3 at least, from memory.
Just want to give a quick shout out to Emulator TV in the chat, as there isn't too much going on circuit, as we're in that transitional phase here halfway through. Emulator, congratulations to all of the 5 viewers here that were awarded gifted subscriptions. Thank you so much, Emulator, for your support here for the Misfits Racing League. Greatly appreciate that. Congratulations to, of course, the King of Slot TV, Turbo Faku, Lanky, Ricky Ciardo, and Adam. Very nice, and thank you for that. And fortunate to see you out of this race, my friend. Of course, next time, hopefully, we'll see you hard charging through the field, as I know you can. Of course, just dipping your toes into the league environment. Nigel not quite able to pull the trigger on Crampy yet, Mikau, and as a result, Kana has had the opportunity to catch up to the Ferrari.
Yeah, so this could get a bit interesting. Kana now with the DRS. Gonna latch onto these two and Nigel's pursuit. And on those fresh, soft compound tires, he's gonna have a lot of grip. You just see the amount of speed. He's gonna go and make a move on Nigel right before, even like halfway down the straight even. Nigel might have let him go there. Not entirely sure, but the amount of speed in that McLaren was just unbelievable. Gadwin also coming in.
Gadwin into the pits, Mikau, but it's freeware within half a second of none other than the Renault of BTFU in 5th position. And this is a battle that we're about to see unfold here. Coming through the Senna S. See a little bit of a weave there onto the curbing from the AlphaTauri. But he has so much speed in the fresher rubber. What a smooth move there. Wheel to wheel coming down into the turn 4 left-hander. But that is going to be a smooth operation from AlphaTauri for now, as BTFU has dropped off. But what's it going to be into turn 6? And it looks as though BTFU not going to have the opportunity and speed to challenge the AlphaTauri right now, as Freeware has just come in off of a wing change in fresh new tires.
Crampy is now fallen victim to Kana on those fresh softs. And does Kana have enough speed to catch Moen even? Heading into turn 4, he's a long way back. I don't think so. But Kana really scything his way through this lower half of the grid, trying to make his way back into those points-paying positions on using those fresh softs to good effect.
One thing to note about this, Mikau, is Kana and Crampy, as well as Moen. All of these drivers have a little driver by the name of Lutra behind them in a Mercedes. So they are all currently at risk of being lapped. So I'm sure Kana on that fresh soft rubber up the inside of Moen. Going a little deep. Is Moen going to get the switchback? He's feeling the tires just as much here, as he has a slide out. Kana into 11th position. Crampy, with that unfortunate gearbox issue, has Lutra crawling up the rear. And I think Lutra is going to have a run on these drivers down into turn 1. And right now, Kana is into 11th position and seems safe for now. What's it going to be from Lutra? How's it going to go with the back markers, as I'm sure they're having blue flags pop up all over this circuit, as the race leader is now coming through.
Yeah, you can just see the extra speed that he's able to carry compared to the Racing Point. Cramping, moving over to the left-hand side, is going to let the Mercedes go. So that is one lap car down for the race. As there's a retirement, that's Jones in the other Haas into the pit lane. So a horrible, horrible day for the Haas squad. Both cars out. Hopefully that's not a foreshadowing of tomorrow's race.
Now you see there, Moen pulls off to the inside. The right-hander, Lutra, getting by. Hopefully Moen didn't pull off too much, though, because Crampy now within half a second. Is he going to get a move done? Let's jump on over and see how this is unfolding here, as that could have been a very, very bad call for Moen to pull off like that, as Crampy could have a move on him down into turn 1 here. Will have the DRS, and he's using that overtake as well. And now we have another yellow flag. That is just coming outside of the Senna S. And who is that? That is the retired car of Jones on the circuit right now. Here we have
Crampy
Crampy
using the DRS. Going up the inside of the Williams. Taps the grass. Both drivers actually tapping the grass. Crampy having a little bit of a cut through turn 2. But no real harm done there, as there are some connection issues being experienced as well between these drivers. But Moen just doesn't have that speed to get back at the Racing Point, but he has the better exit coming out of turn 4 into turn 5, up the hill towards turn 6, but I don't think we're going to see the move that his teammate pulled off some 7 laps ago.
That is a very tough move to make, and of course the time we saw those moves, it was a little bit fresher tires than what, of course, he's on right now, and I think he's really struggling with the wear on those tires as he's sliding all over Sector 2 right now. But of course, saw him lose the position as a result of pulling over for the race leader. Now he's trying to get it back. Crampy in 12th doesn't want to give it back to him. And out of the 20 drivers that have begun this race, Mikhail, we are down to 16, and it has been absolute intensity, especially in that leadership battle. But Lutra, as a result of those back markers that we're watching here now, that have been lapped in Crampy and Moen, he had an opportunity to pull some time away from the Ferrari in second position with the DRS.
Yeah, Alex Bitter not gaining as quickly as he probably hoped to the Mercedes. You know, he came out about 6 or so seconds behind, and he's only really cut that down by a second, and it's now been a whole 12 laps on those tires.
Yeah, Moen now being...
Fraser. Fraser's had an issue in Sector 3. He's going very, very slowly. Don't know if that's just some technical issues with his wheel or what's happened, but he's going very slowly.
Doesn't look like he has any kind of throttle or braking right now in that car. He's had a major issue. He's off.
Very odd.
But meanwhile, Alex Bitto getting through on the back markers, and Moen and Crampy are having a battle as a result, and Nigel is creeping up to them as well. About 13 seconds behind, as I was completely misjudging the gap there between Crampy and Moen. But these two racers battling as the back markers are bringing them into close proximity. Of course, Moen and Crampy wheel to wheel.
They're side by side heading to turn 1. Crampy moving over to take that racing line fully ahead of that Williams, as he is entitled to do so, through the center S. Moen trying to use that 5% battery he has left to mount a comeback attack, heading towards turn 4, but it won't be enough, so the Racing Point will stay ahead once again.
Nicely done from the Racing Point. Great battling between these two drivers. And speaking of battling, BTFU has dove into the pits, and it was Gadwin catching him on much fresher soft compound tires. Of course, Gadwin, we saw, has only stopped once in this race so far. He went for a very long stint on mediums, now on to the softs. Of course, we are doing our very best to give you accurate tire readings on the tire life, but given our current timing grid and the unfortunate bugs, Codemasters in F1 2020, we can't give you that accurate data. Of course, one day we hope we can, as we would just love for the spectator model to improve. But
in the distant future.
The distant future. Well, the close distant future. Hint, hint. But yes, Gadwin in 5th position. Great drive from him so far in the Red Bull. Another great drive is, of course, the driver of Fraser, who has come in. He's in 13th right now, but he's on that fresher rubber. He was struggling earlier. He did start at the very back of the grid. Nigel has now been given the grace of DRS, as has Fraser. They have the third position racer of Yoda ahead of them at the moment, allowing them the DRS. And if Fraser and, well, Nigel are able to stick with Yoda here, they might just be able to bring themselves up into the points.
That's not fair. Yeah, well, these two are in a tough spot at the moment because they're on fresher soft compound tires, but they have Yoda, who's a whole lap ahead of them on worn hards. So they can try and unlap themselves, but they really need to pull like a 1.5 to 2 second gap very, very quickly to avoid getting that dreaded 5-second time penalty. Lutra coming into the pits now, so Alex Bitto will now regain the lead of this Brazilian Grand Prix, setting very, very consistent lap times, only 500ths off his personal best that previous lap.
Tight fight coming down at the T1 here, Mikal.
Yeah, behind them, the two Ferrari-powered cars, a lap down. Yoda holding up Fraser a little bit. Is that going to cost him? Nigel trying to use all the grip that he has available in those softs, but Fraser also on those fresh soft compound tires. It isn't going to be enough to make that fight extend into turn 4. But he's still sticking with the Alfa Romeo. I almost said Alfa Tauri there. No, it's the Alfa Romeo.
I found myself doing that every now and then as well. It can be quite the tongue twister, especially when they're fighting. Yeah, especially when they're fighting.
I'm sure Crofty's done that on multiple occasions now. Can be quite confusing. But nevertheless, we digress. So Alex Bitto now has a 14-second gap to Yoda in second. And Freeware is 5 seconds behind Lutra, as Lutra are trying to use those fresh mediums to good effect, setting a purple sector 2 in the process. This is going to be a fast lap time. And the two Renaults are also getting quite close together. As actually I might have missed that, as BT actually has gotten past his teammate of Domi into 7th place. So sorry for missing that one, ladies and gentlemen. But BTFU, a fan favorite, returning from his long sabbatical, or forced sabbatical, if you will, now back into 7th position.
Yes, of course, BTFU and his unfortunate technical issues preventing him from racing for almost 2 months. Of course, he missed Mexico. He missed Mexico and Suzuka, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, and the entire off season, as well as the first 3 rounds of season 3. So it's been a long time now. Going back to the action on track, Fraser has actually unlapped himself, but Nigel has not. Nigel's still struggling to get past the Mercedes on the worn hards. This isn't quite able to get close enough. And I think Fraser might have just broken the blue flag distance. I'm not entirely sure. But Nigel now lifting off, just staying behind that Mercedes, careful not to get in the way of the leaders, which can be quite easy, especially when you have, more pace in them, then you just feel, oh, you're stuck behind them. You can't get further up the grid to try and close to the drivers you're actually fighting on track with on that same lap. But it is in the rules. You can't in any way impede the leaders when unlapping yourself.
2018, Mikal. 2018. That's all I'm going to say.
Yep. For those of you who may be unaware, Max Verstappen and Esteban Ocon got in a bit of a tussle in the Center S in the 2018 Brazilian Grand Prix. There was quite the discussion between those two drivers afterwards. And by that I mean discussions with their fists, or the palms, as it were.
I don't know if that was a discussion as much as, well, we just won't go there. Of course, yes, Max Verstappen getting very heated. Robbed of a clear win, I would say, in that race. And we saw it very similarly in Austria most recently between Ben the Bear and Crampy, you may remember.
As much as I don't want to remember, yes, I remember that incident. It was quite controversial. But yeah, the gaps here for the Brazilian 100% race for MRL now seem to be extending once again. So no real clear close gaps. The closest gap at the moment is this battle for 10th place with Moen 1.5 seconds behind the racing point, and Fraser on those fresh softs has now just broken within DRS range. So let's go on board with him.
Fraser doing solid from 20th here in this one. Moen under major threat here. Look at that purple sector 2 as well from the Alfa Romeo. So much speed carrying. That Williams here is most definitely a setting duck as they come down the hill.
Wow, and it's purple sector 2. Let's see what it's going to be. It's going to be a 109.045, so not quite able to break into the 108s. But that is a quick lap time nonetheless.
One thing that is going to send up some red flags for sure for these last few point position racers. Of course, Seb, the champ, 2.2 seconds ahead, acknowledging that he has a very fast driver that is going to be catching him soon, as Anna 15 seconds ahead. He may not be as worried as, of course, Fraser on these softs, but it is possible Kana doesn't know this.
There's still 20 laps left in this race, and that is about the lifespan of those soft compound tires. So drivers like Kana, like Nigel and Crampy, and possibly even Gadwin as well. I know it says 60 laps, at least it does for me on my timing tower, but I think they're about the same age as Nigel's. They'll all have to potentially stop again. You know, unless they're willing to try and make those tires last as long as Alex was able to make his last.
Now what Luke really needs here is he has Nigel ahead of him trying to unlap himself. If he's able to get some DRS here, he has to start conserving this battery, Mikal. He isn't able to charge as quick. He is making up time on his teammate, which I can only imagine is as a result. Holy cow, what a tongue twister. Which I can only imagine is as a result of the tire wear.
Got there eventually.
We got there eventually, yes.
If someone in this chat could kindly clip that, I'm sure that would be greatly appreciated.
For you, maybe.
I'm sure for some of these drivers as well. But meanwhile,
it will be in the replay.
Nigel making the move on the Williams of Moen, as Lutra also gets past the Williams, now a lap down to the Mercedes. And Nigel is going to have those blue flags once again.
Now, a different
has
story,
to let Lutra through, and he's going to let Moen through at the same time because of that. But he is going to have the DRS, and he has that quite a substantial amount of battery saved up. You see the red light flashing from the Williams, and just the speed difference with the overtake mode.
Fraser and Seb wheel to wheel through the Senna S here. That is Fraser getting out with a sneaky move. Of course, the tire is so much quicker than Seb at the moment, or is that the case? I mean, Seb, he is on some pretty fresh softs right now. He's looking for a move back in turn 4. Very tight between these two racers as Seb in the Racing Point looks to catch back up with the Alfa Romeo.
He's going to try it. Fraser covers it. There's a bit of contact. And Seb has to go onto the runoff area. And Fraser goes wide at the exit of turn 7 as well. He tried. Seb has now gotten experience of being overtaken up the inside of turn 6, and he looked for it, but Fraser was like, nah, I'm holding on to this. This is my point.
He did very well there as Luke now in 3rd position, Mikal. He is caught up with his teammate, that is Yoda, ahead of him in the Mercedes. And right now the gap to Alex Bitto in the lead is 17.3 seconds, and so far his tire strategy has been working out so well. Lutra, of course, has pitted twice here in this race to Alex Bitto's 1. Yoda on the 1-stop, soft to hard. See there, what a carry of speed between these two teammates.
Fighting a little bit. No team orders here. They're still fighting a little bit. Yoda trying to get as much grip as he can out of those 30 odd lap old hards. He's going to get the DRS. He has that overtake mode on. He's gaining on his teammate. No team orders here. This is amazing racing. There's wheel to wheel the two Mercedes. They come together slightly, but no real damage to speak of. Lutra will hold on to that position. And that could have been very, very scary indeed for Toto Wolff, I am sure.
That was very near the Hockentime desk slam, I'm sure. Of course, see that he's not having the result they wanted for the home race. Of course, now it's so much happening on circuit. It doesn't look as though in the timings, but gaps are starting to shrink here.
Right on the back of Fraser. We saw Fraser sliding his way through the field a couple of laps ago, but now he's under threat from the McLaren behind. Overtake, DRS, Rich Mix. And you can just see the amount of speed. That was a very, very easy overtake for the McLaren. Gets the braking spot on and is now ahead into 9th place, but it's not over yet. Fraser will now have the DRS heading towards turn 4 out of the sole curve. Looks up the inside, but isn't close enough to make that dive.
Speaking of battles, Mikhail, BTFU is very close to putting some pressure on the Canadian Liam in 6th position, driving for the Williams squad. Liam into the pit lane now, so it's the tires costing him a ton of pace here. We're not going to see any crazy fireworks for the overtaking, but BTFU into 6th position, and I have to say, he has been having a fantastic drive around the Brazilian circuit here.
There's a yellow flag in the main straight. I don't know what that was for.
Nigel,
Liam was in the pits.
Nigel has had an issue in Sector 2, I believe.
Yeah, he's fallen way back. So not always spun again
Very
into
hot
the
tires,
infield.
I imagine, and getting past now by Crampy once again.
Kana with the first sub 1 minute 9 lap time with what I do believe was a 108. I'm pulling up the race director. I'm going to get this right. It's a 108.903 for the McLaren. Of course, that overtake, DRS, and slipstream from the Alfa Romeo Fraser helping him set that lap time. But that is a quick lap for the race, I'll tell you that much.
It definitely is. Kana getting out ahead of Fraser into that 9th position, but Fraser, something I've known about Fraser is that he has fantastic battery management. So far, Kana doing well on his battery as well, but let's see how things pan out. We still have a good chunk of this race left. Energy management going to play a role here come the end of this race, I think, given these two racers and their tires. But Kana, you know, those fresh soft, a lot of pace in those. Fraser, a little bit older rubber, but still a fast driver. So I think we're seeing a little bit of pace versus tire play come into this. Kana now pulling out that second, doing good to get out of that DRS, which is crucial, especially at that late stage in the race. You want to maintain as much pace as you can away from the people behind you, which is, you know, the case in any race if you are trying to win, that is.
Yeah, now this is someone we haven't seen too much of for quite a while now. It is CFR Wavy in that Red Bull, currently in 15th place. He has Moen in the Williams in his sights. Overtake mode, DRS open. Moen will also get DRS off Nigel in front of him. This is a battle for 14th place at the moment. They're side by side heading into turn 1. And it looks like the Red Bull will get ahead for the time being, but he has a massive slip out of the rear. But Moa not quite close enough to capitalize off it, and Nigel, probably within a couple laps time, might be under threat from the Red Bull as well.
There from Wavy. As Nigel, as you said, Nick out, the next victim here coming through turn 6 and 7 now. Next target. Definitely the next target. Soon to be the next victim of the Red Bull.
This battle for 13, currently the only battle within the 1 second, as Alex Bitto has started lap 58 of 71. So we still have 14 or so laps to go in this long race. These drivers have done extremely well to make it this far. Like, I can speak from personal experience now, doing a 100% race at any circuit is a big commitment. But Wavy with that overtake up the inside of the Ferrari heading into turn 1. And he will get that move done, but Wavy again being a little bit tail happy. Nigel gets a beautiful run through the center S, has that overtake, DRS as well. Wavy squeezing him a bit to the outside, but Nigel is going to get that move done again, or is he? Wavy keeping his nose in there through turn 4 into turn 5. They're side by side. We haven't seen this for 30 or 40 laps. But Wavy is going to get out ahead for the time being.
But
not as
lovely
clear-cut as he
battling.
probably hoped. Yeah, not as clear-cut as he probably hoped in the cockpit of that Red Bull, but he will get the move done nonetheless. Nigel, though, a very, very quick driver. Somewhat out of position, but he slides to rear again coming out of turn 9. Oh, sorry, turn 11, I should say. But he
Such
certainly
great
has the pace.
racing we've seen throughout this race, Mikhail. So much wheel-to-wheel battling and what you want to see here around a circuit like Brazil. And of course, we are going to have the full replay of this race if you missed any minute of it on our YouTube channel. Check out as well, where we have all of our Misfits Racing League races, highlights, guides on really how to get up to pace around circuits like this. Of course, right now we only have 3 of them. China is going to be coming out this Monday. We have Australia, Bahrain, and the most recent, and I have to say probably one of the most important this game cycle, Vietnam. So if you're looking to master the new Vietnam Hanoi circuit, head on over to the Misfits Racing League YouTube channel, and Mikhail, our lovely commentator here with me today, be able to give you some lessons if you're struggling around that circuit. I know I am, and I know that when I get to there for my league racing, I'm gonna have to go and take a quick peek at that. Beautiful guide, Mikhail, I do have to say. But of course, if you're new to the stream, make sure you hit that follow button, because what you are seeing today is becoming an even more regular occurrence here for MRL Racecast. Every Thursday, we've got Tier 2 and Tier 1 action beginning at 3:15 p.m. CDT / 9:15 EST. And pretty soon, starting on August 25th, the Tuesday, we're going to be having the MRL EU grid kick off, and they're going to be starting things off in Spain. So if you like the racing, if you're enjoying the content, if you're enjoying the commentary, we'd love for you to hit that follow button and join us the next time we go live. Of course, our Discord, where you can find all of the announcements on races, as well as our Twitter. Thank you very much to all of you tuning in. It is for you that we do all of this wonderful racing, and of course the drivers, because we want to give them a nice clean place to race, Mikhail.
Yeah, Liam coming across the line setting a new fastest lap of the race, currently in 8th place. I'm just keeping my eye on Nigel here. He's getting closer and closer in the straights, but he just can't really seem to keep that car under control. You can just see the amount of sliding that he's been doing from those rears. A very, very oversteery setup that he's probably running. But he's now just falling out of DRS range, but he's has that battery in order to catch up. But actually, Wavy has gotten TRS somehow on the racing point of Crampy, so he's been hunting down that 12th place at the moment. Unfortunately, not too many other close gaps further up the field. Fraser 2 seconds behind Kana in the battle for 9th place, and every other gap is more than 5 seconds, unfortunately. So all the on-track battling will have to be for these non-points paying positions, but it's fighting nonetheless. And from what we've seen so far, no matter the position, whether it be 1st or 14th, the racing has been hard, it's been fair, and it's been absolutely amazing.
Couldn't have said it better myself, Mikhail. Well said, as Wavy is gaining so much time on the rear of Crampy right now, or is it just me? He's just pushing through Sector 2 here.
Atom spun it again at exit of turn 11. He's now retired from the session. Hopefully his car doesn't get in the way too much. Looks like it's okay for the time being, and he'll just pull over to the marshal post. Very unfortunate for Atom on his MRL debut.
Here we have Wavy now. He is looking at the rear of that racing point. He is going to have the DRS. He has overtaken full swing right now. He's going to get ahead even before we make it into turn 1 here. You can just see how far out ahead he is as they come through.
You know the saying, Striff. Say it.
Easy as you like. Into turn 3.
There we go. Crampy, though, is staying with the Red Bull. Doesn't have the battery to fight, but he has that DRS and the slipstream. He's gaining, and he goes for a really late dive. Wavy has to take avoiding action, but you know, great driving from the Red Bull not to collide with the racing point. Good awareness. A little bit optimistic from the racing point, but no, it was worth a shot.
At this stage in the race, Mikhail, you're not in the points. You're doing what you can to get into the points, and I mean, what do you have to lose? what do you have to lose when you're outside of the points? You want to make these moves. You got to take risks. That's what racing has, you know, that's part of racing sometimes. You need to take risks. And Crampy definitely went for one there.
Well, he's managed to stay within DRS range, which is very, very important. He's almost gained a whole 2.5 tenths just by being within that 1 second at the detection point. He goes a little bit deep at turn 1, but he's hanging on there as we have less than 10 laps to go in this 71-lap race. Alex Bitto showing his skill and prowess in that Ferrari is the Spaniard. Lutra, who we saw him fighting with so intensely, so just amazing on-track battles in this first stint. Currently 13.2 seconds behind in second, and Yoda in the other Mercedes in that third position.
Race. Lap 64, Macau. Things have kind of stretched themselves out. We've seen so much battling. I can't believe how much battling we've seen. Of course, between that top 4 drivers in that first stint, so much action, so much. Oh, it's just lovely to see. Of course, throughout this entire race, the racecraft from everyone has been fantastic. There's been no major collisions to speak of. The only one to speak of happened on the race start, and that was, unfortunately, the MRL founder, none other than Zamis, down there in 20th on the timing tower. Very unfortunate for him, and it was extremely unfortunate for Kana as well. We saw Kana in that McLaren. That rear went around, and not entirely sure what happened there. We didn't have the best view of it from our end, but of course maybe we'll see some clips post-race as to what happened. Of course, if you are a member of the MRL Discord, you will have access to all of those behind-the-scenes clips from the drivers. Most of the racers here on MRL record, so once these races finish up, there's usually so many different videos to look at, so many different perspectives to watch, and a lot of great overtaking that sometimes we don't get to catch here on the commentaries, Mickey.
Yeah, I'm just keeping an eye on this battle for the final podium place. Freeway has been catching a rate of about 8 tenths a lap for the past few laps, as Moen and Nigel actually have a tussle there for the wooden spoon. So Moen now getting ahead of Ferrari, and Nigel down in the last of the running cars, which is not something you see very often.
No, it definitely isn't. Nigel, very quick racer. Saw him take some wins in Tier 2 last season. He's had a very strong season in the first 3 rounds here of MRL. Very tight to the rear of Moen. And one thing I may think of here is, I'm not entirely sure what assists he's using on a regular basis, but could it be that he's trying something different here?
I mean, he's got 90% battery, but he's not using that overtake. It's going to be side by side for these two. The Ferrari and Williams. What year is this? Into turn 4. But the switchback from Moen is going to work into turn 5. And I'm not entirely sure why Nigel isn't using his battery, but it could just be his personal preference. I'm not entirely sure. Meanwhile, though, Striff, this gap between Freeware and Yoda on those 40-lap-old hard compound tires are really going to be struggling. Freeware has now set a personal best for himself that previous lap, getting DRS off Seb the Champ, now being lapped from the AlphaTauri, and that gap is now within 2 seconds, and there's 6 laps left to go in this race.
We saw it earlier in this race, Mikau. These 4, Alex Bitto, Lutra, Yoda, and Freeware battling so close, and now we're seeing Alex Bitto leading this race 12 seconds ahead of the other Mercedes. Of course, Yoda was in 4th back then, very early on in this race now when you think about it. But of course, if Freeware is able to get back into 3rd, it'd be huge, as that was their running positions ahead of the first pit stop.
Well, Alex Bitto coming across the line to start lap 67 of this race. And some of the bugs in this game, might I just say, Striff, can conjure up some insanely hilarious graphics. I'm seeing Gadwin on 90-lap-old softs at the moment.
Yes, as am I, Mikau, and that would be quite a monumental achievement, to say the least, to make it 90 laps around Brazil, especially when you've only driven 66 of them. Oh, Codemaster. Yep. That's okay. Hopefully they'll get it sorted out by 2025.
Even I think that's a little bit optimistic. But anyway, this
we
gap,
do love the game.
gap-
That is true.
Yeah, we're on it basically every day, and I don't know what we're complaining about. But this gap between Yoda and Freeware, it's not closing probably as much as the German hopes to the Albanian.
Talk about a gap that is, though, Mikau. It is Liam currently hunting down points positions as he is within a second of 7th position. That is the Domi getting DRS on our race leader at the moment, as he is, excuse me, perhaps Alex Bido getting the DRS the other way around down through turn 1, but of course the Domi getting it away from Liam. But that tire difference is so crucial here at the end of this race. Not quite able to pull the trigger yet is the Williams. So much speed.
Again, he's on the outside now. Domi defending the inside. So is he going to try the outside switch back for turn 7? He's looking for it. The gap isn't there. Domi with a great defensive drive, but he locks up heading into turn 8. They're side by side through 9. This is unbelievable racing. We're on lap 68 of this race, and the Williams has gotten past in sector 2.
Great racing there from both of them. Liam doing a solid job getting ahead even before he gets out of sector 2. Is so rare here, and he's been doing it all race. He's made some fantastic overtaking moves here.
It's not over yet. Domi's coming back as the leader, Alex Bitter, starts lap 69 of this race. It's a very, very nice lap, if I do say so myself. But Liam, defending into turn 1, is able to hold onto that position for now. But Domi using all the battery, overtake, DRS, rich mix, slipstream. Look at the insane overspeed. Now making that inside line into turn 4, but they're side by side through turn 5. They're both using that overtake mode, but Domi down on the power. Liam having the inside line heading into sector 2. Domi gets very, very close to losing the car there on the exit curbing, but does very, very well to hold on to that.
Meanwhile, Mikau, as this battle has unfolded, and you can see Domi starting to struggle on these mediums. Liam into 7th, doing a solid job. Freeware has caught up a little bit more to Yoda here, but it is still only 1.3 seconds the gap, and Yoda's so consistent on these hards so late in this race. He went soft hard was the strategy from that Mercedes. Of course, his teammate on a soft medium, 12 seconds behind the race leader. It seems to not have paid out for Lutra after an amazing first stint between him and the Ferrari. And of course, their qualifying times, Mikhail, were so tight. It was Alex Bido on pole position, only 7 thousandths of a second ahead of Lutra. And here we have them now, almost 12 seconds separated here, with Lutra on that extra stop strategy.
Meanwhile, there's a battle brewing for the final points place. Fraser has Seb the champ in his sights with an 80% battery, as we are now 2 laps away from home. And it looks like Fraser, even just only with the DRS, is going to go try and make his way around the outside. There's a little bit of a tap between those two, but Fraser will make that move stick, so he is now into that final points paying position. And meanwhile, up the front here, that gap is still not quite close enough for Freeway. He might have an opportunity on the last lap, but at this stage, that chance is getting smaller and smaller by the corner. Oh, did I use that saying? Meanwhile, Alex Bido starting the final lap, lap 71 of this race. He has had quite the drive, if I do say so myself. Currently 10 or 11.2 seconds ahead of his closest competitor, who we saw just absolutely going at it.
When Kana in a scenario 7 situation right now, overtake down into turn 4 for the McLaren, wheel to wheel with Domi. It's so tight right now between these two, and there's a big spin. That goes Domi outside of turn 4, and he is off Kana into 8th position there, and it was just such tight racing through turns 4 and 5. Now Kana up through 6 and 7 in 8th position, and Domi has dropped off a significant amount. Of course, those medium compound tires, not going to be ideal in a battle like that. Kana on the much better rubber at the moment.
And now Gadwin is on 100 lap old softs. He's done it. He's broken the triple digits on the softest compound tire.
Mission complete as Alex Bido rounding down the hill. Mikal here
And
in the
he will
Ferrari.
take the win. He will take the win here for the MRL endurance race, 71 laps around Sao Paulo. Well done from the Spaniard in that scarlet red Ferrari. Lutra will come across the line in P2 for the German squad, and Freeware not able to close up to the Mercedes of Yoda. So Yoda, the Albanian, in the other Mercedes, will take the final podium place. Freeware coming across the line in 4th place. A solid drive. Gadwin, what a drive, starting on those medium compound tires and having what the game calls 100-lap-old softs, as he is going to come up to the line to finish P5 in this race. And BTFU, the final driver on the lead lap of this race, coming across the line in 6th place. What an absolute, just a great return to one of our fan favorites here this afternoon or evening or night, wherever you are in the world.
Afternoon for the Australian, evening for the Canadian, and midnight for those in the UK. Of course, that was a fantastic race. Fraser getting the DOTD Driver of the Day award, as he did start at the back in 20th position. There you have it, Alex Bitto with the race win here in Brazil, and it is a Ferrari winner, but a Mercedes 2-3 here for Lutra and Yoda. What a fantastic drive from Alex today, and I'm sure he'll be happy with that after that Vietnam race Thursday. Good comeback after what I'm sure he wanted to be a better race that day, but he got it done today by a very good margin. Lutra there, you can see on the grid, 2 stops, and he did start in 2nd position. Alex Bitto with the race win. Yoda in 3rd, Freeware in 4th, Gadwin in 5th, BTFU in 6th, the Canadian driver Liam in 7th, and we saw a fantastic battling from him and Seb earlier on in this race. Kana with a charge after a very unfortunate opening to this race, finishing in 8th after starting in 6th here. 4 stops for the McLaren as well, which is absolutely monumental for him to finish in 8th. Great achievement. Of course, Renault of Domi in 9th, and Fraser from 20th to 10th. And the fastest lap to boot, a 108.179, rounding off the top 10 drivers in this one. Of course, Seb, Wavy, Crampy, Moen, Nigel, all finishing outside of the points here, and Adam, Jones, Indulator, NX Throw, and our founder, Zamis, all DNFing out of this one. What a race that was. Thanks for watching. We hope you enjoyed the racing action, and if you did, make sure to hit that like button and consider subscribing for more great racing. Of course, you can check us out on Twitch. Every Thursday we have racing then, and we're going to have a lot more coming to you soon. Twitter, where you can find all of our updates, and Discord if you're interested in becoming a part of the Misfits community. Thanks for watching, guys, and see you next time.